And I'm just going to walk us through what product strategy is, but I also wanted to make a clear differentiation between PRDs, which stands for Product Requirement Documents. If you're an engineer or you're a PM, there's a document that they pop in front of you that says, if the user does this, then they should see this. It's most likely the PRD that you're looking at. So let's understand what that is. Product strategy is more so how the business wants to accomplish their goals, deliver value to your customer. It's more of a long-term broader plan. So think of the top of the funnel, and then your PRD is like all the way down at the bottom of your funnel. So product strategy helps you understand, why are we doing these products? Why is it important? And I should have done this earlier, but if you have an app idea for whatever reason, I want you to write it down. And as we go through this, I want you to reflect. I'm going to have some reflective questions for you, and then we're going to talk through it just to help you refine your strategy, okay? So we want to understand why are we building this product? Is there an actual need for it? These are things you address in your strategy document. Compared to PRD, which is lower in the funnel, it's like, okay, how is this going to work? How are customers going to interact with it? What are the features it should have? So the focus of your PRD would be specific features. Oh, we want to have, so let's say, for example, I say, I'm going to build the nicest banking app for young adults. That is my strategy. It's going to be the nicest banking app for young adults. That's why I'm being specific. My PRD is going to say, oh, we need to have a community feature where young adults can come and gather together, learn about investing, learn about saving. Those are things that you'll find in my PRD. Some of those things play across the lines because it all funnels down from your product strategy. So in your product strategy, you're going to have high-level goals. In the next 5 years, what's the impact we're looking to make financially? How are we positioning ourselves for the market? And as I describe the product strategy, you might, if you've ever pitched to an investor, you might be hearing it sound like a slide deck that you present to them. It's because your product strategy document can take many forms. It can be a slide, it can be a document, you can use tools out there. It takes many forms, so don't restrict yourself. And the audience, like I just kind of alluded to, investors, executives, your C-suite, again, and then for your PRD, your engineers, your designers, quality assurance, your testers, your QA testers, and of course your product manager. Time frame, as we can see, one is long-term, one is short-term. For your strategy document, it should be more strategic. It should be more, where do I see this going in 5 years? So for any deck I pitch, I always want to have a 5-year mindset in 5 years. And I'm very metric focused, so I'm not saying like just right, like we're going to be a great app in 5 years. What are the key metrics that we're going to hit in 5 years? We plan to have, you can, it's up to you, but we plan to have like 100,000 customers. That's not a good example, but let's say I'm doing let's go back to the financial app example. So I'm going to have 10,000 mini communities in my financial app in 5 years. And why is that important? It means that we're going to double revenue or quadruple revenue. When is my break-even point? At what, in a 5-year period, what year am I going to actually be profitable? And things of that nature. Those are things that go in your strategy as opposed to your PRD. And then, of course, typical content, vision, business goals, your target market. You need to understand, who am I building this for and what is the audience? And then compared to your PRD, it's a feature list, UX design, workflows, things of that nature. So the reason I wanted to level set is because a lot of people here, I want to assume, are probably building apps that have AI integrated into them or starting to integrate AI into them. And I want you to understand how this changes with the AI era. So we'll go into the AI PRD. So I walked through what the standard PRD has. It has a list of features, user stories, things of that nature. But if you're building in this time, you have to keep a few things in mind. You need to have an explicit evaluation framework. And what I say is it just has to be really, really clear. How are we evaluating success and how are we defining success? So these are things you typically have in your regular PRD, but it's a little more nuanced when you're doing with AI. Token costs, token and costs from day one is something you have to have a clear understanding of. your risk and your safety guardrails. AI is crazy. Everybody wants to know, do you have things in place to secure their data? Do you have things in place to ensure your app is also secure? Data strategy and continuous learning. So I will dive into each of these, and I really want you to ask me questions. So don't feel like you have to wait till the end. If you have a question, talk to me. So let's talk about evaluation framework, right? A traditional PRD, and I did simplify it a little bit, so it wouldn't be like this, but I simplified it a little bit. It's going to say, okay, let's say I'm building an app that summarizes documents, it's going to say, okay, as long as the summary can be generated successfully, we're good. And that's great. I want a summary. You generated a summary for me. We're good. Now, when you're building an AI-powered system or platform, what you want to do is make sure you have evaluation and quality section. Okay, so an example snippet that you would have for your PRD now, I mean, we're going to say AI PRD, but it's kind of a mouthful. So let's say the PRD of the current times is like, hey, this feature is not going to launch unless we have at least 85% overall task success. So you have to generate a summary at least 85% of this one. It has to be successful. Otherwise, we're not getting the green light. Next, we need less than 2% hallucination rate. These are random numbers. Don't just impose them on your company or your product. Just make sure you're thinking through it based on what the data is showing you. So depending on what you're building, if you're working in healthcare, you're going to have a really, really low threshold compared to if you're just using a fun product and you're like, oh, it's just me and my friends. We're good. And then less than 1% critical factual error. This just ties back into the hallucination rate. So this is an example, but this is more of what the section could look like. Hey, our objective for our PRD is to summarize a 1 to 5 page business document. Okay, I want to ensure that it is going to have at least, it's going to pass the human rating. So we've had a few humans review the data that we're training this on, and I want to ensure that the human rating should be greater than 4 out of 5. So 4 out of 5 times, I want to be good. Hallucination rate is less than 2%. For those who are not as familiar with what hallucinations are, it's when your AI, I guess in the simplest way to explain it is when your AI model, so when we say AI, we're usually referring to the model powering the system, when the model starts to create answers that are not real, and it's just giving you things, it's just pulling things together. So different types of hallucination, but the most common example is when ChatGPT sees like 900% somewhere, and then this is success, and it says, oh, that was a 900% success rate. You're like, that's not true. Hallucinated. And I think one really cool concept here that a lot of people have to think about is it called psychosis? I think that's what it is, right? Where you have a model that continuously affirms your user. It's like, you're doing great, you're right, you're good. You do not want a system like that. If every time your user comes and like they get stuck, it's just like, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good. People are gonna get tired of your platform really quickly. Factual error tolerance depends on your industry. Once again, you can set that based on that. About data set, and this kind of speaks to the gold data set. Your gold data set is human verified data, right? It's not just like random training and test data that you pull from everywhere. This is like, hey, we want to ensure that this is verified. So an example of this is we're building like, for example, where we are, but let's say we're building like a mental health platform that's AI powered and it has AI in it. I would want to make sure that some of the things that I'm seeing, some of the documents and things like that are being evaluated by people who are psychologists, for example. Those are the things that would go into my gold data set because it's been verified, it's accurate, it's true. Kind of like that guardrail where it's like, don't mess this up. And then your ship threshold, an 85% pass. So for your AI evaluations, some people might have heard evals. These are some of the things you want to consider. You want to have a structured rubric. So you want to have something set in place, kind of like that, but a little more defined. And if you would like a deeper one, we can send you information in the post-event email. You want to ensure there's a human in the loop, some human review. You want to have defined thresholds that it has to constantly meet this limit or this set rate, and then of course a frozen data set or a gold data set that you can refer to. So the next thing that we're going to touch on is token and cost modeling from day one. How many of you have been chatting with ChatGPT and it's like, well, if you use the free version, and it's like, you're not using our free model, our basic model or something like that. It's a cost play. It seems like they don't like you. It's cost. They're worried about cost. Okay, we're not lying. So a traditional PRD is like, hey, we want our systems to be able to take on at least 10,000 users. Remember, it's probably not going to be in this language, but a little simplified for our conversation. For your AI PRD, or if you're building a product in this world that's AI powered, supported by AI, you want to make sure you have set limits in place. So for example, each API request should not, this is an example, these are fake numbers, don't use them as rule of law. It should not exist, like, it should not exceed over 3 cents. We should have a 2,500 token cap, and then if this is exceeded, then whatever. And I'm trying to relate it to things that you've experienced. If you're talking to ChatGPT and suddenly it just stops what it was saying mid-sentence, you hit your limit. There's a token limit set. And then like requests should be routed dynamically. This is one that's going to be a game changer. Well, it is already a game changer, but if you're building it, something you should know. A lot of times when people build, let's say you're pulling from Gemini or you're pulling from GPT-4, whatever AI model you're using, people often send the same requests to just one model. But the truth is that's going to raise your costs really high. So what you want to do is what I have over there, which is model routing. If it's something that's so simple, if it's just generate a summary, I can train something locally to do that. And there are several ways, and we have information. We do have the Substack where we share information. So there's several ways to do that easily. You can just have something that exists in your system. And then if it's something complex, you're like, okay, now I need to go to like a foundational model, which is one of these big models like GPT-4. I think 5 is out now. I'm not even keeping up anymore. So for complex reasoning, you want to use something that's a little more advanced. And then if it's questions that you've noticed your customers ask all the time, think about your frequently asked questions. Okay. Just think about your frequently asked questions, right? You want to have a cache where you see, oh, these are queries that we typically get all the time. I'm going to store that. So these are some constraints that you can have in place. Remember, this is not a hard requirement. It's just things to keep you safe. So we're getting close to a quick break, so I'll go through this in a second. So security is very important. We're all concerned about security. We all want to make sure that we're building platforms that are safe. So if you're looking at a traditional PRD, it's like, yes, we're just going to use the company standard. But that's not the case now. For every feature, you have to think about risk and safety guardrails. It's like, it's very important that I'd recommend it. So think about for each feature I'm building. Let's say I'm building a feature that's going to like just draft an email. It's okay. It'll be fine. It's nothing crazy as long as we're not leaking private information. So we don't need a human review. But if it's financial analysis, it's like, okay, that's money. So we have to be careful. So we want to show a confidence score, and we want to say, hey, we're 95% sure this is correct. Or see, I'm just going to be honest with you, this is 6% use, if you will, or if you choose to. But if this is legal advice, it's like, okay, now we have to have a check in place. Imagine ChatGPT giving you legal advice, and then you got in trouble for using it. You would sue them. And the PM would probably lose their job. So you want to make sure you have things in place to prevent this. So just some examples. I put a few here. We are going to set out the slides, so you don't have to write all of this. I know it's a lot to, but this is just an example. Hey, if it is a high risk output, then we want someone to review it. We need to have a second check, human in the loop. If it's like medium, we'll be fine as long as we tell them like, hey, we're not that sure about it. Another example would be like block all private information that's in there, all hate speech, discriminatory content. These are things that you can get sued for. So you just want to make sure that the platform you're building is safe enough for your users and for yourself, your business as well. And then finally, well, that's not true. But in a traditional sense, this could just say like, ensure we're integrating with our database. But for your AI PRD, you want to make sure that you're very specific with how data is being used, how data is being stored. So for example, if your retrieved content is insufficient, then you need to indicate uncertainty rather than hallucinate an answer. So these are things that people are still working on, and as a standout PM, you should be thinking about too. So some examples that you could have is like, hey, we only want to pull when we're dealing with a customer, we only want to pull from our CRM, our existing support tickets, nothing external. That could be something you put in there. You could do like embedding-based search. You could also have like specific chunk sizes to ensure that you have guardrails in place. For your data refresh, it's like, hey, how many times should we pull? You could choose to do daily, you could choose to do hourly. It depends on what serves your purpose best. And then how are we sure this is not just putting wrong things out there? You want to make sure you have an audit in place. And then this is the final one through. Traditional PRD, you say launch. But for your AI platform, you want to make sure that your app is constantly learning with your customers. That's how you stay ahead of the game. And what do? You ensure that, hey, we're reviewing negative ratings. Depending on how you take your feedback, we're reviewing negative ratings within a specific time period. We want to trigger if like someone's prompted, or if multiple people are prompted and they're all getting the same issue and they drop off somewhere in the process, like your customer's trying to check out with your AI chatbot and they keep just like dropping off. You need to track that and ensure like, hey, what's going on here? Track error rates, you can categorize by type. So just a few things that you want to include. Hey, how frequently are we going to do like a review? How are we going to flag low confidence results? How are we assessing our model that we're pulling from? If you're not like using a foundational model, if you're not trading your own model, if it's just a smaller project, it's like, hey, even companies do this. You ask your competitive, like after you've used the product for a while, you're like, is there any competition out there that I can see that's doing something better? And that's what you want to do as well. So with that being said, just a quick summary if you want to take a picture. This is very important because you need to remember your cost scales as you have more users. Growth with AI products isn't linear. With most products, it isn't, but especially for AI products. So when you have like 1,000 users, it's like, okay, it's only costing us 10,000. But when you have like 5,000 users, it's gonna go like, okay, it should grow maybe like 6%, 10% maximum. But because people really love your product, they're prompting it so much that your cost might go from 10,000 to 100,000 in a month. And now you're like, what's good? So you want to make sure that you have these things in place, right? If you don't have safety guardrails, it could cost you your name, your brand, as well as legal harm. Your model quality depends on the data quality. It's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you feed it quality data, it's going to have quality output. And then, of course, everyone's doing something cool. You stay ahead by making sure there's a continuous learning loop in place. So, that being said, we're going to just have a quick vibe check. How's everyone feeling? We're going to stand up, we're going to stretch, we're going to talk. We have some snacks out there on the counter. So we're just going to grab a few, come back in the room, interact, and then we'll get back into the second half. You have me for like 3 slides, I promise, and then we'll start building. How does that sound? So you might just see me cringe sometimes because like, I'm like, Okay, let's go into it. So for AI product strategy, it's a little different, right? Because we wanted a regular product strategy. We're trying to understand how is our business going to accomplish their goals, provide value to the customers. We want to have this plan. But to this question earlier, it's changing so fast. How do you know if it's ready? How do you know if you're just like banking on something that's going to feel very soon? So I want you to take out your notepad, your notes app, whatever it is you're using. Write down your app idea or any idea that comes to mind if you don't currently have one. And I want you to answer these questions for me. The first one, for the app idea that I have, where can AI deliver real, tangible value? And if you don't have an answer, we'll answer it today. Like 5 more seconds. If you're doing something that's analog, that's fine too. Anyone? I see some people ready. They already know. They already have an answer. Do you want to share? Or no?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Okay. Still thinking?
Yeah.
You want to share, Victoria?
Oh,
You look ready.
It's not ready yet.
Okay. Not ready yet? Okay. And it's okay. We'll talk about this, right? Where can AI deliver real value? And as you think through the first one, I also want you to start thinking about the second question. How can my product learn, adapt, and improve with every interaction? The reason why AI is so cool is because it gives your product the opportunity to continue to grow without you needing to go like disturb the engineer constantly. So how can my product learn, adapt, and improve with every interaction? And when I say every interaction, customer interaction. Okay, 1 more second. And then we'll start thinking through the third question. Okay, third question to start thinking through. What is my unique advantage? We talked about releasing a new product, but it doesn't really Zoom versus iBlock. What is the unique thing that Zoom had over iBlock? Nothing, so it fails. What is my unique advantage that other people cannot replicate? We make this joke internally, but we say, if your competition can build it over the weekend, you don't really have a stellar product yet. It's not saying that it's not on the way to becoming one, but it means there's an opportunity to do more and make it better. It's a joke because I feel like OpenAI can't beat anything over the weekend, so don't feel pressure. Don't feel pressure. I just think the regular person, if somebody can just go on Gemini and create it, do I really have a problem? If you're feel free to just think through, right? When I'm building anything, I don't just draw inspiration from technology. I draw inspiration from other things. So think about it. We have Chick-fil-A. We have I love I don't eat fast food anymore. Like that's a lie. But we have Chick-fil-A. We have Burger King. We have McDonald's. What's the name? Like they're kind of like all giving you fries and a burger, but somehow they're still surviving. So what lesson is that teaching you as a PM? So you don't have to just think of tech products when you're trying to draw inspiration. What are some other things that can inspire me? What can I draw from? What is somebody in the fashion industry doing that I can replicate over here that's going to make me stand out in tech? He likes me. LV versus she. So I'm going to reveal the last question and I'll give you guys a minute to think through. So I really want you to sit with this when you leave, because that's going to inspire the features you end up building after your MVP here. So final question, how can we scale adoption without sacrificing margins or quality? So just do a quick exercise for that walk-in. Give you a second to settle in. If you have an idea, or if you don't have one, try to help with one. This is just an exercise to help us understand. And whatever your idea is, I want you to go through these 4 questions and see if you can answer them. If you can't answer them, that's also fine. This is just to help us get our thinking caps on about our products. So to my last question, how can we scale adoption without sacrificing margins or quality? It might be a great product, but are you going to be profitable? Everyone wants to do something that's profitable, right? And you don't want to have a case where adoption is eating up your revenue. ARP, some important metrics as a PM: adoption, well, acquisition, adoption, revenue. But you'll get the gist. So we'll answer these questions. For those who have been in the room, if you already have answers and you would like to share, that's fine. It might inspire those who are in the room. And just to recap, product strategy is the plan that you have to ensure that your product is able to meet your company values, but also, meet your company's goals. So whether that's a goal for revenue, like you want to have 100K in the first year, but also ensure that you're providing value for your customers. So that's what we're trying to do. Okay. So do we have one volunteer? Can I get one volunteer? Wait, thank you.
Well, I guess it was just like a personal idea because I'm not too familiar with using the this kind of idea. I just like in my role, there's so many meetings, and I'm sure something like this actually already exists, but I just wanted a way where I could like have one interface where I can note take and then have that organized and summarized for me, but be like specific for like my needs, like as like product manager. So like if things need to turn into like requirement stops, or if they need that, like I have to do like so many Slack summaries as well, just summarizing the meeting for other people. And so if it can be like customized to me, this is like something that I think that would be achievable when I can do it. So like regarding the first question, where is AI deliver real technical value? Speeding up the time and like organizing, like I take very messy notes. So yes, speeding up the time to do that, and then also of course like summarization. And helping with the product learn through. I think the fact that like in my mind feet are customizable, so like there's custom tags, colors to help with like the organization. Again, a lot of already with tools like have this, so maybe we can think about it more. But the unique advantage, I have it like a lot of times I will put like through Claude or ChatGPT like my notes and habits summarized down to have one platform where I can summarize like all my meeting notes, notes in the meeting, and then have it organized and summarized like all in one place, and then have like a memory note on top of that. I don't know if I've like seen something like that yet. And then it also be like maybe like focus, or like trying to keep the scope focused. Maybe that helps it be like a bit more unique as well. And then I did not answer the last question.
No, that's totally fine. a lot of this goes back to what we talked about, like model routing, right? If it's something that's simple, something that's lightweight, we want to use like an we want to use like a model that we've already trained in our platform, internal to my system. But if it's something complex, then maybe I'll pull from like a foundational model that's out there and actually use it. So that's kind of like one of the best ways to answer this question. Nobody has pricing figured out. I'm just going to tell you that everyone keeps evolving. So we're just going to use your example as the case study because as you were talking, I'm like, okay, I can see this. So where can AI deliver real tangible value? Like you said, maybe making a summary is like very easy, but like I'm just gonna go through the idea that I have and I'll tie them back to the question. But while you were speaking, I'm like, I don't know if your notes are handwritten or if they're typed out, but one thing could be having something that just recognizes handwritten notes and is able to pull valuable information from there and then convert that into product documents like the PRD that we discussed. I can definitely assure you that I can relate with those morning updates. Okay, every Monday morning, every Friday afternoon, you're sending in updates. So it could automate that process. It's like, okay, what are all the meetings you've had over the course of the week? I'm going to pull that together. I'm going to make an update that is specific to each stakeholder that you have. So your UX designer probably doesn't need to care about your financial stuff, but like your manager probably wants to know everything you've talked about with your different stakeholders. So that's just giving you, okay, these are some of the pain points. And the reason I bring that is because when you understand the pain points, you're going to understand where to deliver value. What are your customers seeing? What is the actual pain point that they have? And that's going to help you figure out how to deliver value. Okay, great. How can my product learn and adapt with every interaction? Well, I used to manage products and I was dealing with teams across Europe. So it was very annoying because I would wake up at 3 a.m. to have 3 a.m. meetings. Like, I really don't want to do this, but maybe I don't even want to type at 3 a.m. Maybe I just want you to take my voice input and know what to do with that and fit like in the specified format. I could also have meetings with people in countries where they don't speak English and they're talking to me. So I mentioned for those who are just joining that I was working at Honda very recently, and some of my meetings were in Japanese, and we would have like the headphones that we would plug in, and then it would translate. What if I just wanted that to like be summarized? Because some of the key things that were said in Japanese, I'm like, I don't think the translator is doing a good job. There's a little more emotion in this. So that could be a unique advantage. Oh, I interact with, customers and people all across the world, and I want to make sure that, anyone can use my platform. It's not just limited to people in the US, but you know what? We're going to open it up. If you're in China or if you're all the way in France, I want you to comfortably be able to interact and interface on my platform, and you can see how that works. So those are things where your product is learning. So with every user, you're building like this language ability for your product. So that is one example. I'm not saying it's the only example. I'm also not saying that's the right example. So it's just options. What is our unique advantage? Well, what you just said, PM specific, right? Having a platform that is very specialized is one of the things that have been helping a lot of people who startup. Like, there's a startup for this specifically, data analysis. There's a startup for PM specifically. That could be your unique advantage. And we are going to focus on that one specifically today. And how to scale adoption, I just went over it. Model routing, caching. You want to make sure you're keeping the frequent prompts that you're getting. If everybody's always asking, how can I find something in New York at 12 a.m.? You want to make sure you just have like an answer that, it's just there. Just think about customer service, right? They have frequently asked questions, and if that doesn't answer your question, then you go to customer service. That's pretty much how that works. So I mentioned we're going to focus specifically, I'm ahead of myself, but the reason why this is important is because your product strategy can rely on this framework. What is the value? Value to your customer, value to the business. What is the variation? How does this continue to grow? People will talk about like the product life cycle. Well, any product you really keeps iterating and keeps growing. And with AI, being in the plate, it's very important. And I had a few thoughts when I was writing this down. I was like, if your unique advantage is speed, you don't really have a strategy yet because everyone's moving so fast. They have all these founder houses. And we were talking about it last night, and I'm like, you know what? We should just get a bunch of people in a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom in New York and just say like, come build. They have so many of that going on right now. Like people are just pushing stuff out so fast. I'm like, can you guys sleep? Like, take a break. So unique advantage, not speed. It's also not the API that you're calling in. If you're using GPT-4, GPT-5, remember, if that breaks, your entire app breaks. So if you don't have a guardrail in place, you don't really have a business if OpenAI doesn't have a business. And if you're religious, you probably just be praying every morning, God, please keep OpenAI. You don't want to do that. You want to build a system that can survive even if your model goes down for a second. And then finally, volume. Your strategy must always include volume. I always like to think from a very successful mindset. So I tell myself, if I'm investing my time in this, then you best believe we're going to make 600K in the first year. I know it can be a little delusional, but you kind of need a little bit of delusion to succeed in the tech world. So I'm going to tell them, like, sometimes I pitch and I look at the money I'm asking for and I'm like, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But it is okay to recognize that if I'm going to build a system that can handle volume. And if you're not thinking about that, maybe you're not just ready yet. And that's why we're talking about strategy. But for the last part tonight, we can't cover all of these in depth. So I'm going to focus on your moat and how that ties into your product strategy. If you think about when they used to fight wars, and they still are fighting wars, but in the older times, a moat kind of kept your people secure, but it also made sure you could launch like secret attacks, right? Because it's this like body of water that's around you, and you separate it. Think England. I think that's a good example. So what your moat does is that it differentiates you. It helps you stand out. And there are different types of moats. You can have a combination of different ones to stand out. So it doesn't have to be like, okay, I only do like luxury really well, but you can be like, no. We do luxury, but we also care about people, so we give out money. So like now people are like, oh, that's a brand I want to be identified with. Like they're kind, they're actually giving back to the community, but they're also luxury. I can pay a little more for it. So what you see is that all across, there's products in existence everywhere. Like this building is a product, and somebody had to think through like, why would I get the contract for this, and how am I going to do this specific style? And you can draw on all of that. So these are some examples of moats. It's not the only ones. The first one would be data moat. Why does Google search still have a business today? Everyone should be using OpenAI. Well, they have a lot of data they've acquired over the years. And if they are smart, we're seeing changes to Gemini, but a lot of that is backing the work that they're doing with Gemini. So if you have a specific type of product, a specific type of problem you're solving for, that's going to get you data, and you're going to tell your investors, don't sell people data, but they do, but you get the gist. You're going to tell your investors, hey, over the next 1 year, we're going to have this amount of data that we can take clear actions and clear decisions to influence XYZ from. Even if your product is not like all of that to me, I can see that. That's information that we're going to need in the next 5 years. And you're already collecting that. So you're kind of like a collection engine. And then what you decide to build on top of that data could also make you stand out. But that could be a moat for you. Network effects. You want to make sure that as users use your product, then they get more value. So if they don't use it, it's not working out for them. Being LinkedIn. LinkedIn really works for you when you know a lot of people. You get more opportunities when you connect with more people. So you're kind of influenced to use the app more without them coming to advertise to you. Like, use it or you'll suffer. Like your customers are literally doing the word of mouth for you because they know it benefits them when somebody else joins. So you want to think of trust and brand. When the LLM race started, one thing Anthropic did to distinguish themselves was like, hey, we're going to be the people that you can trust. We're going to be ethical. We're the good guys. And that was like their entire thing. And ChatGPT was doing great, but people would still go to Anthropic. I know a professor was like, yeah, I can't put any more student stuff in. All the stuff that I'm reviewing, no. I have to use Anthropic. And I'm like, sure. But yes, that's just an example. If people feel like, hey, this is this ethical brand that we can trust, even if you're not the best one out there, they might want to come to you because you're like, okay, I trust that you're going to handle my data with care and you have the right, systems in place. Another mode could be product design. There's so many things out there today, in my opinion, humble opinion, that could replace Notion, but I think they still have a market because they just have really cool design. Have you seen those little extras that they have where you can like animate your face? It's so cool. It's the things I love, but it's so cool to me. And they have a workflow that's hard to copy. It makes people want to like just lean over to them. I know like LinkedIn had a wave when they first introduced those headshots that everyone was making their own little headshot from Notion and posting it on LinkedIn. Your customers literally advertising for you and bringing more people on the platform. So you just have this sticky design that makes people want to come on. Think Duolingo. It's cute. You have a nice brand, nice design. Another one could be the distribution mode. This one could be a little harder if you're just starting out, but once you start to grow, okay, it could be something to keep in mind. We were just discussing, and I was telling him, how many of you know that TikTok has a streaming app? Anyone? Any hands? TikTok has a $5 billion streaming app. It's a product. It's a good product.
Really, TikTok owns the streaming app?
Yes,
What do you mean?
they have a streaming app in their platform on TikTok. They also have a separate app for it, but they have a streaming app in their platform that's making them billions of dollars.
But there's a lot of flash sales.
Oh,
There are a lot of influencers do flash sales and they just on their all day sell things.
not even just when I say streaming, like a movie streaming app.
Oh, movies.
Yes, I know. It's crazy, right?
Like Netflix?
It's called, it's not Netflix type of dramas, but they do have like random dramas that are irritating on there. But I still watch them. Sometimes I'm changed. That was last year. I was bored.
So like, oh, like, how do you-
Okay, great question. So this goes back to like your mode, right? So what they did, they take a 1 hour movie and they break it down into little 30 seconds, one minute videos.
Okay.
Did you know that it was making them billions of dollars?
That makes
Separate
sense.
from their TikTok revenue.
So do they like then feed those clips into the TikTok stream or people have to go on with?
So they started off, so product strategy, right? How are we gonna launch this thing? We know, especially in the Asian market, that a lot of people stream dramas. So we want to do that over here. So they thought about it and they're like, okay, we're gonna slowly feed it in. So sometimes you're scrolling and then you just see like somebody like saying some random stuff and you're like, what is this? And they caught people's attention. And over time, they like were able to use the data that they already had and the people that they already had. So they had a good distribution channel. People already come on TikTok to watch stuff. And that's the difference between TikTok and QB. For those that know QB. And they came on and they're like, okay, you know what? I'm actually going to like break this down. And people started watching. And then eventually they slowly launched the app and people were downloading it. Great strategy, right?
Yeah.
Product strategy. That's an example. So your access to specific channels, specific partnerships, like, okay, for example, Manus AI is just a regular, I don't even know what to call it. They're now doing everything. But initially they started out like, you come in here, we help you visualize the data. And now they've been acquired by Meta. Now, if you want to do data visualization and they are already in the Meta ecosystem, there's a higher chance that you might use them because you might want to use something else that's tied and affiliated with Meta. That just goes to show distribution. So even if I can't do it myself, I'm going to be affiliated with a bunch of other people that make me seem credible and stuff like that. And then finally, regulatory. I feel like this one just has to be there because if you have specific like certifications, not like as a person, but as a company, it could make people, so going back to what we said about data and guardrails and people wanting to know like, hey, this is an ethical brand we can trust. So can you see like combining a bit of some of those modes, they kind of bleed into each other. So I know the story of like a startup, I can't say a friend, so let's just say an acquaintance. A startup who got like a contract because they were SOC compliant. So they had that in place and the other people were like, there's many other startups that can do this, but they're not SOC compliant. So we are going to go with you guys. So that could be something where you're like, okay, what are the compliance requirements that my industry that I want to do or has, and then I'm going to make sure that we have some of that. That could be your distinguishing factor, just to give you ideas to think about. Well, that being said, we've officially come to the end of the theoretical part. Let's put it into practice, and I will go over it and hand it over.
Also, could we grab a virtual? Like she mentioned about the theory, if you look at the theory, I study computer science, and every time we are getting to learn about the algorithm,